Call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Goodyear meeting for Wednesday, March 18th, 2009. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the clerk show that all members of the commission are present. And our first order of business is I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission held on February 18th, 2009.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Williams and a second from Vice Chairman Laux. I apologize.
You almost had it.
Almost had it. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, ayes have it. If anybody wants to make a public comment on an item that is not on tonight's agenda, this is the time for you to come up and speak your piece, and we'll ask you to fill out one of these cards. Is there anything that, if it's an agenda item, we're going to ask you to fill out a card and come up, and you get to come up and speak anyway. Is there anybody who wants to speak on a non-agenda item? Seeing none, we'll move on to the disclosure of ex parte communications. Any?
None.
Any? No. Okay. Nobody had ex parte communications, which is always nice. And therefore, we're going to move right along, and I'm going to open the public hearing on case 0770000008, the Madera Minor General Plan Amendment. Mr. Creccia will be making the initial presentation. And Steve, you're also going to make the presentation on the rezone at the same time, even though we're going to have two different actions on them?
Mr. Chairman,
Or there's nothing new?
the applicant is requesting that we continue the PAD till next month's meeting. So tonight we're looking to just hear the general plan amendment.
Okay. Well, we still have to, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I continue to have a conflict of interest on the Madera application, both the minor general plan amendment and the rezone.
All right, thank you. Would the secretary please note that Commissioner Schlosser has removed himself from the dais? All right, Mr. Creccia,
Okay.
give us the new stuff.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I really don't have much new. I know this is an item that the commission is very familiar with, so I'll just go real quick through context. Again, this is Madera, about 4 to 6 miles south of Estrella development. Aerial photo of the Madera property outlined in red. Again, just showing majority of the property is in agricultural use. Dairy up here, undeveloped, the southern portions here. In the staff report, this is a page taken out of the staff report. These are the land uses. Again, these are the existing land uses. The applicant is just proposing to refine some of those acreages. And in this document here, you could see those land uses in the configuration that they propose. Again, more of a refinement, just placing these uses to better location to facilitate their PAD development. Staff reviewed this. We find it reasonable and appropriate. We are recommending approval.
Okay. Questions of staff? All right, you're not getting off that easy. Stay there. Mr. Commissioner Williams.
I'm sorry. Steve, just a quick one. Is staff pleased with what everybody seems to be doing with, is it the Hunt Road alignment? Is that the road on the south end that we had an issue with?
Mr. Chairman, Commission members, I think staff has looked at the proposal as outlined in their materials. Traffic engineer, city engineer do not agree that no road is an option. They do want to reserve the right to require some form of roadway along here, whether it's maybe a local road, and then look at connections to these properties that would be in this area here. That's their main reason. They want to preserve and make sure that those properties, as Madera develops, as those properties develop, that there's access provided. So their recommendation is that at the time of platting, when we get more specific reports, traffic reports and subdivision plans for this area here, those properties along Hunt Road and maybe development plans here, that we relook at it then, but that their opinion is some form of roadway will likely probably be needed.
Thank you.
That was the question I was going to ask Steve, but, so do we have is there a stipulation agreed to this, or are we just going to come back to the verbal or the tape to show them that they agreed to, that something was going to be done or something would be agreed to in the far future? I guess, from a legal and a written point of view, where are we close, or do we need some kind of stipulation, or I'll let you answer.
Mr. Chair, staff has proposed a stipulation. We do have a draft. We have forwarded that to the applicant. Now it'll be time to gauge their view of the stipulation, but staff doesn't have a stipulation that pretty much mirrors kind of what I explained to Commissioner Williams, that we do foresee a need for some kind of roadway along here and access to properties in the area.
Mr. Chairman, if I might add that the request that's before you on this item is the general plan amendment for the land uses. It is also a request to delete in the general plan the Hunt Road as a designated arterial street. That portion we agree with, and the engineering department and traffic engineering agree with, to the deletion of it as a designated arterial roadway. But Steve's indicating that in conjunction with the PAD request, when we take that up, there'll be a stipulation in conjunction with the PAD on how to implement that access now that we've already deleted it as an arterial street.
All right, thank you, current planning manager Bob Coons, for enlightening us on this endeavor. Are you finished, Steve?
I am, sir.
Okay, Mr. Jones, do you have something you'd like to say for the record, briefly?
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, welcome Commissioner Peters to this fine body, Planning Commission, one of the best, I should say, in the Valley. Very technically competent, and Gary always asks all the tough questions and wants all of the answers. So, welcome aboard. I was asked by a couple of the staff members this evening about our PowerPoint presentation that we have prepared for you. I assure you I do have it. I've been told that you guys don't want to see it. So in that accord, I decided I'd wear the loudest shirt this evening so that you would have a lasting impression, even though you don't have the timely PowerPoint presentation to have before you. We are very excited that we are moving forward this evening on the general plan amendment, that we have a recommendation of approval. Many of the questions that have come up this evening are addressed specifically in the PAD. The PAD stipulations, we received them last week, just as your packets were being put together, and didn't have an opportunity to go through them. There were 68 stipulations that we needed to review and get comments back to staff. We were unable to do that in a timely manner, and I sent an email to Harvey Krause on Thursday and said, we request a continuance, pull this out of the packet. We're just not ready to go at this time. So we are appreciative that staff has recommended approval on the general plan amendment, and is also recommending that we have a continuance till next month. And I believe next month we may be able to have our stipulations resolved on the PAD. Harvey, and myself, and the city manager will be meeting tomorrow morning to address some of the comments that we have on the stipulations. But hopefully we can have all that resolved and be back before you within a month to keep the PAD moving. We are mindful that we still have a development agreement to get finalized. That is not a matter for the Planning Commission, but it's one that the City Council will need to take up and approve. And so we will continue moving down this road. The stipulations continue to fine-tune the details of the development plan and the details that need to get resolved in order for this package to be finally completed. Is that under 3 minutes? Did I do that?
close,
Not
Dustin.
quite.
You could have.
I saw the chairman's eyebrows raised, and so I think that's my cue.
I was starting to count the words, see if you were billing. Are you billing by the word or by the 6-minute
I
increment?
thought the shirt would resolve all issues this evening. Harvey said he couldn't find a shirt like this in the stores that he shopped at.
Dustin, you're winning.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
Does anybody from the public like to? I'm sorry. Is there any questions of Dustin Jones, the applicant's representative, Mr. Peters? Okay, moving right along.
Boy Scouts raised their hand. Did you see that?
Okay, well, he can come up and ask a question, but it has to be on something that we can truly discuss. So let's save it for something more important than this one. Is there anybody from the public like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Is there any commission discussion?
No.
Seeing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the Madera Minor General Plan Amendment Case 07-700-00008.
Mr. Chairman, despite Dustin's attire, I move that we recommend approval of case 07-00-00008, the Madera Minor General Plan Amendment.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion from Vice Chair Lux, a second from Commissioner Loretano. All those in favor say aye.
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 All, you don't vote on this one down there. The ayes have, any nays? Ayes have it 7-0. Okay, next item of business.
6-0.
Oh, yeah, 6-0. I'm sorry, 6-0. Luke was recused himself. Okay, next order of business is the Madera rezone, case 07-200-00016. I'd like a motion from one of the commissioners to continue this, please.
Commissioner Gelsner, I make a motion to continue case 07-200-00016, Madeira final PAD.
I have a motion from Commissioner Miller and a second from Vice Chair Laux. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, ayes have it 6-0. Thank you.
Get rid of this book.
Let the minutes reflect that Commissioner Schlosser has returned to the dais. I'm going to open case 08-300-00013, Burger King Restaurant with drive-through use permit. And our presenter is I lost it. David Canning. Sorry about that. Okay, got the right stuff. David, let her rip.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. The subject 1.2-acre parcel is generally located on the north side of Yuma Road, approximately 400 feet west of Saraville Avenue and the Saraville Marketplace Commercial Center. The applicant is requesting approval of a use permit to facilitate the development of a Burger King restaurant with drive-through facilities. This is the master site plan for Saraville Marketplace. The Burger King is proposed on Pad C, which is towards the southeast corner of the proposed, or of the development. Saraville Marketplace will also have a Fry's Marketplace located towards the north side of the project, shops building, a gas station pad, and a bank. And site plans have been approved for all of those projects. This is the site plan for the Burger King restaurant. As you can see by looking at this plan, the front of the restaurant will face Yuma Road, which should enhance the appearance of the center from the street. The squawk box and Squawk Box, Benny Board, and Preview Boards will be located towards the rear of the restaurant. And so vehicles that enter the drive-through lanes towards the rear will place their order and then proceed to the west side of the restaurant to pay for and pick up their order. The drive-through lane will be screened by a masonry wall on the west side, and also a masonry wall in the landscape buffer along Yuma Road. Going back to the master site plan, I'd like to point out the access points for the center. There are 2 along Searle Avenue with full turning movements, and then 3 along Yuma Road. And these are the proposed elevations for the Burger King. The architectural style, colors, and building finishes are in compliance with the Cerevel Marketplace commercial design guidelines. I would like to point out that even though the applicant has submitted elevations with this use permit, formal review of those elevations will take place with the site plan application. So staff will continue to review these elevations with the site plan application. The applicant is proposing hours of operation for the Burger King between the hours of 5 a.m. and 12 a.m. midnight, Sunday through Thursday, and then hours of operation between 5 a.m. and 2 a.m. Friday through Saturday. Staff does have some concerns with those hours of operation. In particular, staff would recommend that the restaurant close at 12 a.m. 7 days a week. I received a call from a citizen who lives in Vanderbilt Farms, and he also expressed concerns with the hours of operation proposed by the applicants. A citizen review meeting was held on March 10th, 2009. One citizen attended that meeting, and there was no opposition to the proposed Burger King restaurant. Staff is recommending approval of the use permit with the stipulations contained in the staff report. And this concludes my presentation. The applicant and staff are available for your questions.
Questions of staff? Commissioner Loretano?
Just briefly, what are the other, because we did a couple other fast food restaurants, just I think down on Estrella, what are the hours of operation of those? I don't stay up that late, so.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I don't know the hours of operation for those restaurants. I'm sure you're speaking of those restaurants south of I-10 on Estrella Parkway.
Yeah, there was a
Jack in
couple
the Box,
others
et
that
cetera.
I think, I just wondered what their hours of operations, if this is similar, what we usually ask for, or?
Well, in this situation, we do have a residential neighborhood directly fronting the restaurant.
Okay.
We also stipulated the fueling station to those same hours because of the residential neighborhood to the east, and we're trying to be sensitive to those residents with those hours of operation.
Okay, so the other, in this area, all are going to have the same hours?
Yes, the
It's gonna be
fries will not be
consistent.
open past midnight, and the fueling station will not be open past midnight. We expect that as more users come within the center, particularly convenience uses such as drive-through restaurants, we would hold them to the same standard.
Okay.
Other questions of staff? Oh, if you have a restaurant, I mean, if we have, I find the 12 o'clock closing a little bit, like we're imposing the city's will on the government's, on the restaurateur's ability to sell food. And, I mean, is the fries, you're saying that the fries is closed at midnight and the the drugstore drive-through will be closed at midnight also?
That's correct.
I mean, the residential neighborhood is a long way away because this has a big setback with a canal and the houses across the street are on 1 acre lots. I'll listen to the applicant make his case for 2 o'clock. Please identify yourself for the record.
Brad Flahiff with Burger King, to be simple.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you. I think I'd just, I'd re-articulate your point. What I'd say in concern, or to address the concern of the neighbors, is we typically open hours that the neighbors and community want us open. So if there's not business, we would typically open a store when we do a new location, 5 a.m. to 2 a.m. If there's not business from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., for example, those hours get pushed back to 6. If on Friday and Saturday there are not customers after midnight, then we close at midnight. So we tend to move those hours around. So what we appreciate is the flexibility to set those hours based on the demands of the neighborhood. Most of what we anticipate, this is a Fry's neighborhood market, and this Burger King is servicing the neighborhood. So it's not the same as one we might see right off the freeway where we'll draw traffic off the freeway because we're open, have signs lit, et cetera. So ironically, it would be the very neighbors that are there that we would be serving. So we'd certainly we'd appreciate the opportunity to be open till 2 a.m., understanding that if there's not business because the neighbors don't want that, we'd be closed by midnight. And there is a representative from Fry's here, and I didn't get the whole story, but understand that they don't believe their hours are necessarily limited to midnight, so that's something maybe we'd want to hear more from too. But
Okay, let's do questions of the applicant first. Commissioner Miller, I can see, I know you have one. Go for it.
Well, I don't think it's so much of the applicant as it is of staff in terms of, that was going to be my question. If Fry's and the gas station, which I think, a gas station, if it's closed at 12, I can see you guys being closed at 12 as well. That's why I was going to ask, are they definitely closing the gas station at 12 o'clock and the supermarket as well at 12? So it really wasn't of the applicant. It was really, I was going to
Okay.
ask the staff a question.
Other questions over here? Commissioner Williams?
Well, I guess I have kind of a related question. Like other fast food restaurants in the area, like within a mile or two, are they allowed to be open till 2? And does this stipulation make them non-competitive in this location? Does it cost them business because of the restriction on the hour?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Williams, relative to other fast food restaurants, Burger King or otherwise, I think you'll find that there's varying hours of operation. And as we evaluate each of the individual use permits, we do that on an individual basis based upon their location and potential impact. And as the gentleman said, I mean, the ones that might be along McDowell or otherwise that are close to I-10 might be 24-hour operation, and we had no objection to that as primary community commercial area, no neighborhood impacts. In this particular case, it's strictly staff's recommendation that given our understanding from Fry's, what their hours of operation, the hours of operations we restricted on the gas fueling station, which Fry's had requested to 2 a.m., or actually all night, unmanned operation, that this commission, based upon staff's recommendation, restricted that to 12 a.m. In consideration, to midnight, in consideration of the neighborhood that's adjacent to the east and the potential impacts. We're saying the same thing here, is given the Vanderbilt Farms neighborhood, 1 acre lots to the south, that a restriction to midnight, 7 days a week, we believe is appropriate and is fair. If the commission desires, not to do that, the applicant has requested to 2 a.m. on those weekend hours, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I guess, or no, Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday.
It's at the commission's discretion. It's strictly the staff's recommendation. We are trying to be consistent with the hours of operation of the businesses within the center and the potential impacts later hours on the adjacent neighborhoods, which in this case we do have neighborhoods, and others we have not.
Have we imposed more restrictive hours on other fast food restaurants I'm searching back to, over my 6 years on the commission, and boy, I don't remember us closing somebody up at midnight at all, and so I'm searching for that. I mean, I thought the Wiener Schnitzel was open till 2 in the morning, or they are open 24 hours a day, and there's a neighborhood right across the street from them.
Mr. Chairman, I don't recall the specifics. I know that in each application, we look at and ask for information relative to the hours of operation. That's one of the findings within the ordinance for evaluation of the use permit, is the manner and the hours of conducting the operations, so we can gauge and judge the potential impacts upon adjoining properties, particularly residential properties. I'd have to say, yes, we have restricted, but I couldn't swear to that. But I know in each of the cases, we do evaluate it on that basis.
Would the commission be allowed to put a review clause in on the hours of operation? In other words, what I'm thinking is that we allow them to go to 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday, and then review it in 6 months after they've been open, and both they can say, well, we have X amount of business, and we can say we have X amount of complaints. We're going back to the original way of doing something. Is that something that we can do? Give them a 6-month conditional?
Mr. Chairman, it's within the purview of the commission to do something like that, not necessarily, to grant the use permit subject to a review occurring at a certain period of time,
Okay.
at which time the commission could reconsider maybe the hours of operation, if that is what the commission's desire is. I may want to just add is that the Fry's Marketplace is restricted to midnight by ordinance.
Okay. And the gas station is closed at midnight too, or, the lights will go off at 12:01.
That's correct.
Okay. Commissioner Schlosser?
Mr. Chairman, I guess first of all, I actually live one lot south of this Burger King. I could probably throw a baseball over there.
Please don't.
Likewise. I honestly don't care one way or the other. I'm probably the closest. I don't know what neighbor had that concern. The neighbor adjacent north of me that would be closest to the Burger King, that's foreclosed on. There's nobody that's living there. My question would be for staff, and that is, what's the ultimate width of Yuma Road going to be? Or is it 4 lanes plus the center median, or?
Mr. Chairman, it's a major arterial, I believe, which would be 6 lanes plus the median. It is quite long, yes, wide, yes.
Like I said, I honestly don't care one way or the other. That's way past my bedtime as well, usually.
Commissioner Pete? I'm sorry.
But I sure don't have a problem with it if it's Friday and Saturday night. So, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not in favor of restricting the hours. I think, with 6 lanes in between the neighborhood and the Burger King, I think that it's probably the closest restaurant. I know there's a Jack in the Box down the way, and this may actually interfere with competition with that other restaurant.
As the applicant, if we grant you till 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday with a 6-month review after opening with staff, and if there are problems, it'll go back to midnight, would that be satisfactory to you?
Well, let me say, obviously, our first preference would be not to have it. My concern is, well, I guess initially we'd open until 2 a.m. What I was going to say is my concern is if we're not open until 2 a.m., how do we review that in 6 months? But initially, I guess we'd open at 2 a.m. So,
well, normally, what do you do? Do you open till 2 a.m. or do you just see where business is, and if it's still busy at 12:30, we stay open?
No, typically the other way around. So we'd typically open. When we open a new store, we'd open at the earliest hours and stay open to the latest hours, so 5 to 2. And then if there's not business over that first few months, then we'd pull those hours back because it's not profitable. So, I think we'd be open to that. I guess the concern usually, and I don't know what the concern of the resident was. The concern usually is lighting, or sound, or traffic. So, lighting again across the street is going to be. I'm not a lighting expert, but real minimal impact. It's LED lighting. It's almost nothing. I like to call it the speaker post, but the squawk box that's in the back of the restaurant, again, is in the back of the restaurant, certainly not pointing out across Yuma. So the reason I think you don't hear complaints typically, and I'll use Litchfield and Indian School as the example. Commission approved those hours, 5 to 2 a.m. We opened in August of 2007, so let's assume it was early 2007 or late 2006. We, at least at the restaurant, have not had any complaints. I don't know that the city has, but those are typically concerns that I understand from neighbors, but what they typically find is that it's not an issue. So if we needed to review that in 6 months, I'd be open to that. What I get concerned about is often there is one or maybe two members from a neighborhood who show up, and we make a decision based on one or two comments that may or may not be, I don't want to say valid, it's open to opinion, but it's someone who's 3 streets away, so.
Okay, thank you. I wish you would, advise some of our other applicants about where the menu board should be. It would make their process that much easier. Commissioner, I'm sorry, Commissioner Loretano.
I just had a comment on that. I don't know if I'm for restricting for a 6-month period. I think we're only talking about 2 days a week, and I'm okay, honestly, with the 2 a.m. because I don't know if it's going to be seasonal, if maybe some times of the month when there's more construction, you might be opening earlier or want to be at 2 a.m. at that time or later. So I'm okay with till 2 a.m. because we're not talking the entire week. We're not talking during the business week. We're talking Friday and Saturday.
Correct.
So.
Correct.
Commissioner Williams?
Well, the other issue is when is Yuma Road going to become a 6-lane divided street? I mean, that would have an effect also. I mean, because there would be a lot more traffic at that point in time. And I guess my feelings are I'm not too strongly in favor of restricting the hours. And if we do restrict the hours, do we get to go back and revisit them when Yuma Road becomes a 6-lane?
To expand the hours beyond 2 a.m.? Is that what the
No,
question?
beyond midnight, to 2 a.m.
I mean, the commission has wide latitude in how you want to react to this in terms of your motion and recommendation for approval. It could be as requested by the applicant, as recommended by staff, or anything in between, including review, although administration of some of those things obviously gets complicated and messy. If the majority of the commission, and if you feel that the open to 2 a.m. on weekends, in your mind, given the particular site, the setback from the residential, the width of the street, the future traffic, if in your opinion that you don't believe that's going to create an impact, my recommendation would be to take action and approve it as requested.
I second the motion.
You don't have,
No.
it's not yours to do. All right, any comments? Do you have any further comments?
I think I probably shouldn't. Learn from Dustin.
Anybody from the public like to make a comment on this? Come on up, identify yourself, name and address, and
Hi. Hello, everyone. My name is Elliot. I'm just happened to be here for another issue, but I realized something. Nobody's talking about the street, the other street.
Elliot, you need to give your name and your address.
Elliot Gonzalez, located 15874 West Washington Street, Goodyear, Arizona, 85338. Nobody's talking about Sarabal. And we are across another side of the street when there's a lot of community right there too, a corner. And they're talking about the winding of the Yuma, but they're not talking about what's going to be the impact in Sarabal. So that's the only thing that I brought my attention in the whole process.
Sarvel, sir, is also a major arterial and eventually will become either 4 or 6-lane divided sometime in the far future.
Okay, that's what you see. You just keep talking about one street, but not the other one, in which there's community on the other side too, on the east side.
Mr. Chairman, there's actually going to be a bank between Saraville and this Burger King,
Right.
Maybe a bank. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
so that'll.
So it's going to be like a
block it,
buffer.
yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay, I just wonder how much Sarabal is going to be involved in this because they're just talking about Yuma, and it's just okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like a motion from one of my commissioners that we approve this with, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, thank you. I'm going to close the public hearing. Commission discussion.
I have a question. So now, will we have to revisit the gas station? Visit Fry's? I just want to know.
We don't have to revisit
I mean,
Fry's.
will that come before us? So now, if I were the gas station, I'd have a problem. So that's my question.
I mean, each individual case or use permit request, you review on an individual basis and its potential impacts. There's a lot of different impacts between a drive-through restaurant than maybe a gas station, fueling station, particularly with lighting, for example, in terms of early hours. The fueling station and Fry's are both stipulated to the midnight hours. They have an option at some point in time to come back and request extending of that if they want to, amend their approvals and revise those stipulations, but they would have to do that back through the Planning Commission and make an argument to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commission comments? I would like to see a motion with the hours of operation as requested by the applicant, if I could get one from some commissioner, please.
I'll move that we approve case number 0830000013 as written, except for with the hours of operation on the weekends to be as requested till the 2 a.m. on the Friday and Saturday nights.
I have a motion from Commissioner Loretano.
I'll second.
And I have a second from Commissioner Williams. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
The motion carries 6-1. Commissioner Locks, for the record, your objection, please.
I am not necessarily opposed to expanded hours of operation. I am just more concerned with the precedent that we set. Everything else in the area, we already decided ought to be midnight, and now we've given someone else a leg up over those other businesses, setting up a potential for more work for us down the road, when justifiably so Fry's and et al. Come back and also wish expanded hours, which is fine, but we've established a precedent, and I'd like us to be consistent.
All right, thank you. Okay, I'm moving along. Next order of business is case 08-630-00010, the Sarville Avenue Comprehensive Sign Package. And I'm going to open the public hearing, and Mr. Canning's going to take this one also.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. The applicant is requesting approval of a comprehensive sign package for Sarville Marketplace, a planned 23.7-acre commercial center generally located at the northwest corner of Sarville Avenue and Yuma Road. This comprehensive sign package consists of freestanding monument signs as well as wall signs, or rather building-mounted signage throughout the commercial center. And as mentioned in the previous case, the Fry's Marketplace will serve as the anchor tenant for Sarville Marketplace. This site plan identifies the 4 locations of monument signs in Sarville Marketplace. Yuma Road will have 2 signs, freestanding monument signs A and B, and Sarville Avenue will have freestanding monument signs C and D. And these are elevations of the 4 freestanding monument signs within the center. Signs A, B, and D deviate from the sign height and square footage standards which are set forth in the zoning ordinance. And sign C actually complies with the monument sign requirements in the zoning ordinance in terms of sign area and height.
David, sign C, is that going to be LED lit, or, I don't remember, I mean, you know, how's the price of gas going to be displayed? Is it backlit, is it, or is it the numbers that somebody's going to put up there each day, or we'll ask the applicant? That's fine, we'll save it for the applicant.
The sign package also addresses wall signage throughout the center, and this site plan identifies where wall signage will be permitted on the buildings. The entire center will comply with the zoning ordinance standard of 1 square foot per 1 lineal foot of a square footage for front elevations and 1/2 square foot per 1 lineal foot for side and rear elevations, with the exception of the Fry's Marketplace and fueling station. The Fry's Marketplace building and the Fry's fueling station canopy will exceed the allowed square footage requirements as set forth in the zoning ordinance. And it's difficult to see the signage on the elevation of the Fry's Marketplace, but there are signs applied throughout the front of the building, but no signs on the side and rear. And then this is the proposed signage on the Fry's fueling station canopy. The total square footage of all signs on the north, south, east, and west elevations of that canopy equal 100 square feet. Staff is recommending approval of the proposed comprehensive sign package since a commercial development of this type and scope warrants unique sign criteria. Although there are significant deviations from the sign provisions of the zoning ordinance, staff supports the deviations and finds that the requested signage is generally consistent with the signage approved for other similar commercial uses. This concludes my presentation. The applicant and staff are available for your questions.
Okay, questions of staff? All right, time for the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would like to point out that, before the applicant speaks, signs A, B, and D are illuminated by fluorescent lights. I'm not quite sure about C, and the applicant will be able to answer that question.
All right, please identify yourself for the record.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the Commission. My name is Jeff Guyette with Fry's Food and Drug Store. And the question on sign C, that sign will actually be illuminated with the fluorescent, and there will be manual change numerals for that sign, for the fuel sign.
Okay, is there anything else that you'd like to present to us, or are you ready for questions?
I'm ready for questions.
Okay, questions of the applicant.
I have a question.
Commissioner Miller.
I didn't have any problem with your signs, except for, why do you have to, for sign F? No, not F, I'm sorry. Is it F? Is that the thank you sign? Yes, the thank you sign. It's on page 21.
Okay.
It just seems as if the other signs seem appropriate, needed. I just don't see why there's a need for a thank you sign that's that large.
Well, it's actually, it's not a very large sign.
Oh, it is small?
And it's just a part of a customer service, thanking the customers and the community. It's just a leaving, something for people to see when they leave our center, that we do appreciate the business and the people of the community. I mean, if you looked at the bottom sign, it's a 1 foot sign.
Oh, it's only 1 foot?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Other questions? Commissioner Loretano?
The thank you's done on the back of the exit only, though, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm fine.
Anybody else? Luke?
I just had a question on your timing, not related to signs, but
At this time, we're looking at the end of the year, depending on,
To
our
break ground.
capital funding and.
to break ground at the end of the year?
Correct. Correct. And to the point of the hours of operation, I'll just throw this out here and get here in the when that meeting was taking place, I wasn't actually present at that meeting, and I wasn't able to attend when those hours of operation were stipulated. And, we are looking at those hours of operation. Typically, our store does close at 12 or 12:30. That is a standard, so I agree with that. But everywhere that we do have a fuel center open, our fuel center, we do close the kiosk at 10 p.m., and we keep our fuel center open 24 hours for credit card sales due to the fact that we want to be able to service our employees that are working in the center, that are closing that and stocking our center overnight, as well as people that are coming home and working those late hours. Typically, we've done that by showing that our foot candles, that there are no foot candles for our fuel center with the recessed lighting that bleed off. I have pictures that I could show that once the center closes and the fuel center is open, the lighting literally cuts off at the edge of the canopy because it's recessed and it's under the canopy. So that is something that we are looking at possibly bringing back before the commission to request a change in those hours of operation. So, just so you guys know.
All right. We opened the Pandora's box.
And honestly, it has nothing to do with the Burger King. It's something that we were looking at. It is detrimental to our business to not have that as hours of operation. It was agreed to, and I apologize. I had a family emergency, and I couldn't make that meeting. Otherwise, we would have had that out in the open earlier. So, but
All right. Other question. Sean, I have a question of Mr. Coons. Page 34, we have these price up on the fuel canopy. And if I remember correctly from my multiple tours of the city of Goodyear, this is a first. And I don't think this should be the first. I have never, they have two fuel signs, one on Sarville, one on Sarville and one on, and then if you'll notice where it is on 35, you'll see where it is on the canopy. And have we ever allowed anybody to put a price sign on the canopy?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Chairman, I'm going to
Yes,
defer to David
David.
for the moment.
What? David?
Thank you. This would be the first sign of its type in the city of Goodyear. The request to have the prices on the fueling station canopy. During the review of this comprehensive sign package, there usually is a lot of give and take. Originally, the applicant
What'd they give you to get this?
proposed 3 signs on Yuma Road, which is not out of the question for a center of this size. We were able to get them to reduce that to 2 monument signs. Those monument signs also were originally proposed at a much greater height than what they are identified as now. I think the monument signs are 14 feet, 12 feet and lower. So with that consideration, we examined their proposal. We still discouraged it, but in the end, they said this is something we want. We're going to keep it in our sign package, and staff did not feel that warranted that their proposal to have that signage on the canopy warranted a recommendation of denial from staff. So recommending approval of the sign package, we weren't all that enthusiastic about this sign on the canopy. I think the applicant needs to make the case for that sign.
Come up here and make the case for that sign, because I don't think it's going to happen.
that would be very unfortunate for our business also if that didn't happen. I understand that there are the 2 signs that do have the fuel pricing, but when people come into a shopping center to shop at Fry's, which is the anchor tenant, they spend a substantial amount of time inside the shopping center, and they're not going to remember what the street pricing is. And when someone goes out and gets in their car and they start up their car and they see that they may need gas, the sign does not face any neighborhood residents. It's approximately 800 feet away from any resident to the west, and it's just a sign that we place in there that's specifically for our Fry's customers exiting our store to be able to see the pricing that we offer.
Mr. Chairman, I might add that, to add what David said, one of the other considerations that we had in our review of this, the location of this fuel pricing sign on the canopy is on the, what's identified as the rear elevation, which is the west elevation of the canopy. That's internal to the site. And if I recall discussions with the sign consultant representing Fry's, that was important because this is a Fry's fuel in conjunction with Fry's customers that are going to Fry's and then maybe wanting to get gas can see the necessary fuel display of the pricing internally. This is not on all four sides or on the exterior street side of the canopy. So that was a consideration in staff's recommendation to agree to it. Although, as David said, we have not done that on others.
Commissioner Loretano.
Yeah, I really don't know how I feel about that there because it is kind of new. I think honestly it looks a little, my opinion is it looks a little junky on there. But I don't think it's a problem. I don't buy your argument for your business. Your customers are going to forget what the gas is by the time they go in. I just shopped at Costco right before I came here, and they don't have any signs up, and I went and got gas at Costco. So I'm not buying that argument. If you can give me some other argument, I don't want to see signs on all these canopies throughout Goodyear. I don't want to start that precedent, to be honest with you.
And again, it's not an exterior sign. And although you may not buy our argument, it doesn't make sense for me to spend $12,000 on a sign plus pay my sign consultant to put it up there if we don't feel that it's important to our business in attracting our customers that are leaving our store. So although people have a mind sense that I'm going to go shop at Costco and get gas because it's cheap, Fry's doesn't have a fuel center at every one of their stores, and the ones that we do have, it's important for us to let our customers know what our pricing is.
But neither does Safeway, and they don't have it up there either, and it's the same thing. And there's always a line at the Safeway gas on Estrella as well.
Well, I'm happy for Safeway that they have the business.
I have a question.
Commissioner Miller.
So are you saying that all of your stores that have gas stations have the canopy?
That is correct.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to know.
Are you representing Fry's or are you representing the sign company?
I'm actually the one who's working this deal. I work in the real estate department, and
Okay.
so I am representing Fry's.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Lot 4 on the extreme west side of this, which is that big open space right now, is that going to be retention? What's going to happen over there?
That is the adjacent shop owner's parcel, and he's looking at retaining an additional occupant to go there at a later date.
Okay. All right. Other questions of the applicant? All right, thank you. Is there anybody from the public like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing on this case. Commission discussion? I would
See the need for it.
I would like to see a motion with the canopy pricing struck off it,
I agree.
and then the rest of it is good to go.
I just would like to remind you, it's only on one side. It faces the grocery store. It's not visible either from Sarville or from Yuma. As long as it's restricted so it's interior. I honestly don't have a problem with it, but I'll go along with whatever you all want.
Mr. Chairman, I agree. I agree that it faces the interior, and I don't see a problem with it.
I feel the same way as well. Can you point out where it is on this map exactly, on the west side of it?
There are signs everywhere.
It would be on the southwest corner of the canopy.
On page 37.
It's going to
of
be
the-
right where my finger is, facing
Right.
the backside of the shopping center
37.
on the fuel canopy here.
All right, right now I sit with 3 commissioners who want to leave it there. Do I have a 4th commissioner who wants to leave it there? Or where are we? Well, before I ask for a motion, let me see what the sense of the commission is.
I pretty much verbalized what my sense is. I don't think it's necessary. There's already 2 signs there. I didn't hear an argument why we need it. The thank you sign makes sense because obviously it's on the back of a wrong way sign, a directional sign. Just to keep putting your prices everywhere starts to look like the Dollar Mart or something.
I agree.
Sean, where are you on this?
Actually, I kind of have a question for the applicant. The sign itself will be fluorescent, you say, and it's going to be a manual change sign, is that?
The one on the canopy is an electronic change sign, and it is fluorescent lit. The one that's out on the street is a manual change, which is fluorescent lit.
What, and I don't know if you're prepared to answer this, but moving to a fluorescent to perhaps an LED on the canopy, I mean, do you, I'm assuming there's a cost difference, and the reason that you choose fluorescent is it's more cost effective for you to do that.
If I could get that approved with my corporate office, I would have been doing LED signage a long time ago, because it's actually a little bit less expensive, and the life of the signs has a better life, and there's not as much, not as many issues with the signs. This sign is actually substantially more expensive than an LED sign. It's a corporate standard that we have all across the United States. I have tried to get the LED approved at other locations, and had my vice president of real estate, corporate real estate, come in and say he understands that I want to do the right thing, but it's not always the politically correct right thing, and to ease up on pushing the LED signage until it can work through its normal process.
Your people have not seen the light.
Then perhaps this meeting will go somewhere in illuminating them.
I like that.
I would just like to point out, it is interior, and there's no property that's going to see it. There's no residential property. It's for interior shopping center purposes only. I ask you guys to reconsider the ones that aren't in support of it, although you feel that it may be excessive signage. We've made many concessions with Fry's as far as the building and the different types of building and the material we're using. And I'd ask that you guys reconsider and allow us to have the canopy price sign for our interior residential or interior commercial shops. Thank you.
Okay. Where do you want to go with it, Sean? I'm against it. I'm with the ladies. So it's your ball. So give me a motion.
I know, and I can't even make fun of Dustin's shirt. All right, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve case 08-630-00010 with the stipulation that the sign on the gas station canopy be removed.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Lax. I have a second from...
I second.
Second from Commissioner Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, the motion passes 4-3. For the record, Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Schlosser, and Commissioner Peters, would you please state your objection to the whole package or just the canopy sign part of the package?
My objection is, my unobjection is for the canopy sign, the interior canopy sign. I guess I struggle with us trying to dictate to people how they need to run their business, as long as they keep how they run their business interior and buffered from the residential areas and the streets.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Schlosser?
I agree with Bob and would add that I think the sign is 13 feet long by 3.5 feet tall. which would probably be as big as half of this desk up here. I would have had a problem with it if it were facing either Saraville or Yuma, but being interior, I just didn't have a problem with it. I understand all of your concerns, though.
All right, Commissioner Peters?
Mr. Chairman, I am in favor of the motion except for the stipulation. My only objection is for the stipulation of not allowing internal sign.
Okay, thank you. This will get forwarded to City Council, and you have another opportunity to state your case on why the canopy sign should be there. However, the commission recommendation is that, and that will go to council as the sign package is approved with the exception that that canopy sign on prices has to be removed. And I think the majority of us thought it was excessive, and we didn't want to open up a Pandora's box here because we've never had one before in Goodyear. All right. I'm going to open the public hearing on case 08-200-00014, the Goodyear Commerce Center Phase 1, request to rezone these under 7 acres. And Mr. Williams is going to make our presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you this evening is a request by the Marion Partners LLC to rezone roughly 7 acres known as the Goodyear Commerce Center, which is located at 14180 West Van Buren Street. And I'll just direct your attention to the vicinity map here. We've got Van Buren Street here, Goodyear Commerce Center, which is Phase 1. The area behind here would be Phase 2 of the development. This would be the Goodyear Storage Depot here with the Cancer Treatment Center there to the north. The site has been developed. The site's been developed with 3 roughly 30,000 square foot buildings. It is currently zoned light industrial. They're requesting to rezone to a planned area development this evening. The existing permitted uses in the Commerce Center would include your typical light industrial uses such as trade schools, manufacturing, office buildings. The PAD would expand the uses to include uses such as gymnastics, martial arts, indoor recreational activities, uses such as that nature. I believe it's on pages 7 and 8 in the rezone narrative that you have in front of you where the expanded list is located. It should also be noted that with including an expanded list in this planned area development, we've also included a list of prohibited uses that would not be allowed in the area as well. We had a citizen review for this development on February 10th. We've had no opposition voiced at that meeting. We've had no opposition communicated to staff at this point. Staff is recommending approval of the rezone from light industrial to planned area development subject to the stipulations that you have in the staff report in front of you. That concludes my presentation this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and Mr. Roediger, the applicant, is available as well.
Okay, questions of staff? All right, let me invite the applicant up. Did I miss somebody? Did somebody have a question? No. Let me invite the applicant up.
Chairman, council members, Andy Roediger, 206 East Virginia, Phoenix, Arizona, 85004. Hello.
Do you have any presentation, or you're going to rest on your laurels? That's fine.
It just gives us a broader reach in the marketplace with the area developing and changing. We want to change with it, and we've had people and small businesses come in and want to locate in our buildings, and because of the narrowness of the code, specifically the light industrial code, it precluded us from really doing it. And really the area's transitioned from when I got going on this thing years ago, light industrial manufacturing, warehousing, distribution, to where we can get higher and better uses. And I think it's a win-win because there'll be more prosperity in the area, there'll be more sales tax generated, stickier businesses, and that's about it.
Okay, I have a question of the applicant, but I'll let my fellow commissioners go first. Other questions? How, what's your percentage of lease space right now?
67% lease.
Okay, and it's staying steady due to the economy, right? Not going up as quickly as you would like.
Use that term loosely, steady. Well, there's the economics of the business are that we'll ebb and flow with the tenants. We're a family business, a small business, and most of our tenants are family businesses. In some cases, there'll be 3 generations working in the stores. So if their business suffers, we lower our rents and we work with them. And we're going through that right now. And the way our economics work, not that I know it shouldn't matter in public policy, but the realities are that, as you get to the 65 or 70% margin, of each incremental square foot is 100% margin to the bottom line. So it will let us get to the second phase. We have permits for that long north-south parcel ready to go, and it's kind of a struggle now that most of our customer base, if you were going to locate at our center, you were probably going to say in 5 years half my customers are going to be west of us, and that story doesn't sell anymore because of the house.
All right. Commissioner Williams.
Do any of your current customers have any issues with expanding the usage?
No, the sign's been out there. It's kind of been interesting. Nobody's even mentioned it to me.
Thank you.
So.
All right. Anybody from the public like to make a comment on this? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Commission discussion. I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend we approve case 08200-00041, the request to rezone the 6.9 acres from light industrial to the planned area development for the Goodyear Commerce Center at 14180 West Van Buren.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Williams and a second from Commissioner Schlosser, and we'll correct the motion, if I may, to the last 2 digits were 14, not 41.
Mr. Chairman, it looks like it's 14 on the agenda and 41 on the staff.
41 on here.
And 41 on the staff.
Okay. Mr. Williams, what's the correct number for this case? 14. Okay, so
Our
it's
mistake, we're sorry.
What?
Our mistake on the staff report. Thank
All
you.
right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it, 7-0. Thank you very much. All right. Next case is case 087000008, minor general plan amendment, University Park area. Open the public hearing, and Mr. Birmingham is going to make the presentation. Brett.
Thank you, Chairman Gelser, members of the commission. I've placed a vicinity map here so that you can see what we're referring to as the University Park area. It's labeled incorrectly here as a PAD, but I wanted to show you this graphic so you could see the rectangular green-shaped, the green-colored rectangular area just north of the city center, which is shown in orangish brown. You can see the relation to I-10 and Estrella Parkway and Yuma Road. And then just zooming in onto the subject property. The University Park General Plan Amendment includes approximately 100 acres of city-owned property. It's located at the northwest corner of Estrella Parkway and Goodyear Boulevard. And as you can see here, some of the land uses surrounding the subject property include to the north a portion of the Wildflower Ranch single-family residential subdivision, and also agricultural land, which has a future land use designation of medium to medium high density residential. To the south, there's a 40-acre northwest district of the Goodyear City Center. You also have Desert Edge High School to the south. To the east, Estrella Parkway, and then there is the Fairfield Residential Serafina Apartments. There's commercial properties that are owned by Green Street that are now up, and that is the Centera development. There's also a church there just to the east on Estrella Parkway. And to the west is also the Wildflower Ranch single-family residential subdivision. So this graphic shows the existing general plan land use exhibit. During the 2003 general plan update process, there were approximately 162 acres of property owned by Ms. Lula Mae Hudson, and it was given a general plan designation of parks. Originally, the City of Goodyear officials anticipated acquiring that property and acquiring that for a community park. And in 2004, the city acquired only 100 of the 162 acres from Ms. Lula Mae Hudson. And as you can see, it was painted green on the general plan. And then later in 2007, the City of Goodyear mayor and council began the process to attract interested universities to the city. Goodyear officials made a concerted effort to bring smaller private schools or higher education to enhance the City of Goodyear's quality of life and to fill an educational niche that Goodyear officials felt was needed in the area and was lacking. And several universities expressed interest, as you all know. In 2008, the City of Goodyear has signed leases with the University of Incarnate Word and also Franklin Pierce University to each have 30 acres of property in this area. And I want to show you this exhibit here is a draft exhibit from the future zoning application that you will see in a few months. But the purpose of this exhibit is to show you where the community park would be in relation to the two university sites. So you can see the community park to the west, approximately 30 acres, and then there are two 30-acre university sites. The Franklin Pierce University would be the northern site adjacent to Harrison Street in the Harrison Street alignment, and then University of Incarnate Word would be the southern 30-acre site adjacent to Goodyear Boulevard and Estrella Parkway. As many of you are aware, the Goodyear City Center site will include a municipal library and also eventually a performing arts center, which may be shared with these two universities, and which would help to accomplish economies of scale for those organizations. And as I mentioned, the city is processing a final PAD zoning application concurrently with this general plan amendment. And we will be before you next month with the City Center PAD application on April 15th. So this exhibit shows the proposed general plan designation. When the City of Goodyear purchased the 100 acres from Ms. Hudson, as I mentioned, the city envisioned that it would be used for a community park. And we did designate it solely for park purposes. So in order to accommodate the two university campuses, we need to process this minor general plan amendment to change the land use designation from parks to public, quasi-public, as you see up here. In the Goodyear general plan, the public, quasi-public land use denotes areas that may include schools and special use parks. And so in addition to providing for the development of two university sites, the public, quasi-public land use designation would also provide for the development of a community park for the residents of Goodyear to enjoy. The proposed general plan amendment constitutes an overall improvement to the general plan by providing for public, quasi-public land uses, which would be located adjacent to the city's 40-acre city center development. Goodyear officials have made a concerted effort to bring smaller private schools of higher education to the city of Goodyear, to round out the city of Goodyear's quality of life, and also to fill an educational niche, as I mentioned, that they felt was really lacking in Arizona. There was a citizen review meeting on March 3rd, and there were approximately 6 residents who attended that meeting. And although there was no opposition to the development or the change to the general plan amendment, there were 3 concerns that were brought forth in the meeting that I wanted to share with you. And one of the concerns was the residents voiced concern regarding views of the adjacent mountains. They had questions about, how tall will the future university buildings be? And so we took those comments in, and we will be incorporating those comments into the final PAD before it comes before you. An additional, several have made comments about traffic. The concern that the residents don't want university traffic going through their neighborhoods. This area here, eventually with the development of this Harrison Street alignment, it would connect to the existing portion. I believe it right now it goes to about this point there. So the concern is that they just don't want the traffic to be going through the neighborhood, and we have noted that for the record, and we'll ensure that the final PAD addresses that. And there was also a concern that there hasn't been pathways for pedestrians to get through, and I believe at this point in time, a lot of high school traffic, kids are jumping over the fence in this area, so they expressed that they wished that there would have been some kind of a gate for the pedestrians to utilize. And this concludes the presentation from staff. Staff is available to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions of staff? Commissioner Williams.
Hey, Brett, is this on this? Is this like just an access, a dirt road that they use for their agricultural purposes, or is that a wash, or is that something that's going to go away?
Chairman Gelser, Commissioner Williams, it is a service road used for the agricultural purposes.
Thank you.
Other questions of staff? Okay. David, are we the applicant for this?
Commissioner Gelser, we are. Yes, the City of Goodyear is the applicant on this application.
So you spoke as both as city staff and as the applicant. Okay. I have one public speaker, Mr. Elliot Gonzalez. Come up, identify yourself, make your comments. Would you pass that to Joe, please?
Getting the drift of this, I think I'm supposed to address to you as Mr. Chair and the staff. Chairman, right? This is Elliot Gonzalez again here, and 15974 West Washington Street, Goodyear, Arizona. Now, just like he expressed it here, my concern is the traffic that is going to come either to 159, if they know that it's a parking lot anywhere around this area here, okay, they will be going this way or this way. Okay, this is the back of the community. So, but to my understanding, it will be a low-intensity community over here too. So we don't know how this community is going to be developed and how many entrances would be here on this side of the community too. So we don't know if those entrances would be, if we bring traffic from Van Buren here this way, it's going to go right across this community here and basically what happened over here, but I think it's a commercial center over here. So my concern basically just bring it to the table to try to control the traffic and leave it towards the Estrella. That's just my concern, the traffic and the parking lot, that it's going to be people going to this area here. And it's going to be just a public park. That's fine, everybody can enjoy it, but it's going to be a public park. Where is the parking lot to be considered for the planning? Because I don't know, that will be in the future, I guess. But that's what I'm coming from. All right.
All right. Thank you for your comments. They are noted for the record.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public like to make a comment? Otherwise, I'm going to close the public hearing. Commission discussion? Seeing none, I'll take a motion, please.
I make a motion that I'm trying to find out where I am. Okay, there we are. I make a motion that we approve minor general plan amendment 08700-00008.
I have a motion from Commissioner Miller and a second from Vice Chairman Lax. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, 7-0. All right. Now I'm going to open the public hearing for case 097000001, City Center Specific Area Minor General Plan Amendment. Mr. Birmingham, you're up again.
Thank you. Chairman Gelser, members of the commission, members of the public, place the vicinity map up again. The subject property for this case is shown in the orangish-brown color, which is the Goodyear City Center, all 4 quadrants. And then just zooming in, the aerial photo exhibit shows the adjacent developments surrounding the property, and they include to the north the city's 100-acre University Park site and the Fairfield residential apartments, and as was mentioned before, the commercial properties developed by Green Street in the Centera development. To the south, you have the Ballpark Village, the Wood Corporate Campus, and the Estrella Vista single-family residential subdivision. To the east, additional Fairfield residential apartments in the Centera development, and Sun MP's City Center Air Park. And to the west, we have Desert Edge High School and the Estrella Vista single-family residential subdivision. I wanted to provide a little bit of background just so that we could all remind ourselves about the specific area plan. In 2004, the City of Goodyear initiated the planning process, the formal planning process for the City Center Specific Area Plan. And many of you recall there were several qualified consulting firms that were interviewed, and the city selected HDR as the lead consultant to produce or help the city produce the Specific Area Plan. The city also organized a 28-member citizen-based technical advisory committee, and their job was to assist the city in guiding the policy development and helping with public input into the proposed plan. There was a very extensive public participation program. Many of you were involved, and city staff, HDR, the Planning Commission, the City Council, we all worked closely with the Technical Advisory Committee and ultimately transformed the vision into the Specific Area Plan. And the goal was to provide the city with the regulatory tools, design guidelines to implement a city center development. And the vision was to have this pedestrian-friendly development that would have both vertical and horizontal integration of various uses that were appropriate for a city center. And also, each of the city center districts contain a very unique theme, and the predominant and complementary land uses are shown here. So, for example, the Northwest District was designated for civic and retail uses. It also had complementary uses of office and residential. And for the Northeast, the predominant land use was hospitality, entertainment, and residential, and the complementary land use was office uses. So continuing on, in January of 2009, the Langford and Associates development team, the city's development partner for the city center, completed preliminary work on a conceptual site plan for the city of Goodyear. And as you can see here, this is an exhibit that shows the ground floor uses for the city's 40-acre Northwest District. And once this site plan was submitted for staff to review against the city center specific plan, staff noted several areas in the specific area plan that needed clarification on the intent of the requirements in order to process development applications in the city center. And if I could refer you to your staff report, if you'd like to follow along with me, you're welcome to do so. This would be on page 5 of your staff report. There are really 8 different clarifications that I want to go over with you, and we'll try to explain these briefly and be as clear as possible. We apologize if anything is confusing. If anything is confusing, please ask questions and we'll stop. One thing that we can do is talk about each clarification and then stop and have question and answers before we move on if the chairman would like to proceed in that route. But the first one, I'm referring you to the red text in the table. The proposed language is intended to provide clarification on the intent of the requirements of the specific area plan. During the review of the Northwest District site plan, staff noted inconsistencies when computing the predominant and complementary land uses. And after discussing this component of the specific area plan with the consultants who prepared the plan, staff was able to confirm the intent of the specific area plan. And the first thing that I want to talk about is the predominant and complementary land uses being at the ground floor only. So that's what I want to focus on just for a few minutes. The drafters of the city center specific area plan explained that the predominant land use requirement within each of the city center districts was intended to be solely at the ground floor, and that uses above the ground floor could be any use listed in the table of land use classifications included in the plan. So the specific area plan also had a multiple page document that outlined additional uses that are allowed in the plan. As such, staff proposes that the specific area plan be revised, that this table be revised to clarify these unique provisions and to be clear that it applies to the ground floor land uses. And just by way of explanation, if the percentage of complementary land use is restricted above the first floor within the city center core, the height of buildings and intensity of the land uses that might occur would be severely restricted, which is contrary to the intent of the plan. The specific area plan specifically notes that the highest buildings, the most intense development, the most dense development should be located in the city center core. A limitation on the complementary land uses within the city center core above the first floor to not more than 49% of all floor area would require a commitment to a slightly greater amount of floor area in retail and civic use. And since retail doesn't typically locate on the first or second floor, the only way to develop the core with more intensities would be by placing a significantly higher amount of civic uses in the core to offset that floor area for complementary land uses. And given the relatively small amount of civic uses, we have the city hall in the core, we have the library in the core. The city hall is a significant amount of civic space, but it would be virtually impossible to develop the core with tall buildings while staying within a 49% limit on complementary uses above the ground floor. So the emphasis of the plan on ground floor land uses within the city center core, it's clear not only by the introduction to the table, but also by language within the table. And so for this reason, the table's been, we're proposing revisions to the table to clearly clarify that 51% of the restriction on predominant land uses and the 49% restriction on complementary land uses applies only to ground floor uses. Excuse me, okay. And now, if I could, I'd like to move on to street frontage unless there's any questions on ground floor requirements. Okay. Street frontage. The writers of the specific area plan explained that the minimum requirement associated with the predominant and complementary land uses in the table was to have an effect on all areas along any street frontage. And so staff is proposing that the specific plan be revised, that the table include that language to clearly state that it applies to uses along any street frontages. You'll note that the word minimum was also added to the table in an effort to clarify the ground floor use requirements in the districts. The word minimum was included for the Northwest District, but it was not included for the Northeast and Southeast districts. And so we're trying to establish consistency here. Also, as parking is not listed in the table of land use classifications, that was another question that came up. We're proposing to add a note to clarify that parking should not be considered a land use when calculating the predominant versus complementary land uses. Parking internal to a mixed-use building should not impact the minimum predominant versus complementary land use required in each of the districts. And so we are proposing that additional language be added. Although allowing parking was clearly anticipated in the specific area plan, the document doesn't clearly note this, so we need to change that. We need to provide that clarification. David, can I have you pass that? And if I could have David will pass out a supplemental exhibit to each of you real quickly. Over the past few weeks, staff has been working with SunMP, the owner of the other 3 city center quadrants. And SunMP has been working closely with the city on the proposed language in the specific plan amendment. And so we're still on page 5 of your staff report, but what we're giving you is a new table, which contains a new note number 3. Staff has recognized some unintended consequences and some impracticalities of wording that may force residential uses on the ground floor within the Southwest District. And as a result, footnote number 3 was added to the Southwest District in the core, to the predominant ground floor land use column, and also unintentionally conflicting language was removed from the Southwest Core's complementary ground floor land use column. The proposed revision here assures that residential uses will be provided in the city center core without requiring them to be on the ground floor. Residential is a unique use that in mixed-use developments, it's typically not found on the ground floor unless, often when it is found on the ground floor, it's typically a building consisting entirely of residential. So this change would still encourage the development of ground floor retail and mixed use, and still gives us the amount of residential that the plan required. Are there any questions on this change on this first page? Okay. Moving on to clarification number 2. So we're headed now to page 7 of your staff report. These ones will go much faster, so I apologize. Okay, so proposed clarification number 2 here. Language was added to the paragraph to clarify that the requirements of the Northwest District are applicable along any street frontage. So really, we're just trying to establish consistency with other sections of the specific area plan. We're just doing some wordsmithing here. So if there are no questions, I'll continue on to proposed clarification number 3 and 4. We've kind of linked together along the same lines as the previous one. We're due to previous changes that we're proposing. We're just trying to establish consistency with the other sections of the specific plan. We noted that we've got 4 districts, but oftentimes the wording wasn't uniform in each of the 4 districts, so we're trying to make all of them the same. For proposed clarification number 5, and this relates to the building height along Main Street, the requirement for building heights along Main Street is not clear in the specific area plan. And although the plan does note that buildings of 2 to 3 stories, the text in the specific area plan states that buildings of 2 to 3 stories are mandated within the Main Street loop, but the text was not underlined. The text appears to be referencing a requirement that was expressed elsewhere in the plan, but no such requirement can be found. And as I mentioned, the text is not underlined and is therefore not a regulatory element of the plan. The specific area plan clearly notes the maximum building height along Main Street as 150 feet, but does not identify a minimum. The plan notes that elements that are not underlined are the policies of the plan that provide guidance, and this would be encouraged. But the proposed language would now clearly explain that although buildings of 2 to 3 stories are desired along Main Street, there is no minimum building height requirement along Main Street. And we do need to note that although the specific area plan does not contain a minimum building height for Main Street, there are provisions in place in the specific area plan to ensure that there is a consistent retail facade, and that will be provided where those buildings will be along Main Street. The goal was to provide a pleasing pedestrian environment along Main Street, and we'll still have buildings along Main Street designed to create street level interest. We'll still have pedestrian comfort, doorways that are covered, walkways, and other street level ornamentation for pedestrians that will be incorporated into future site plans. Any questions on the building height for Main Street? Okay. Proposed clarification number 6 is the specific area plan. Going back to this master plan, it did show City Hall to be proposed in this area here, and we're just clarifying that City Hall is not required to be located onto Goodyear Boulevard. This section of the specific area plan was under the section entitled Building Orientation, and the intent of this section was to make sure that all 4 sides of the building received consistent architecture. So we're cleaning up that as well. For proposed clarification number 7, the specific area plan requires that parking lots and structures are to be hidden from pedestrian view. And we're proposing to clarify that parking structures may be located adjacent to Yuma Road and Estrella Parkway if the ground floor is wrapped with retail storefront adjacent to the street. We've got a picture here that shows a few examples. It also provides that parking structures proposed adjacent to Yuma Road and Estrella Parkway are required to contain an architectural facade above the first floor of retail space. So it's ensuring that a typical parking structure will not be visible from the public perspective. Additionally, there's language clearly stating that permanent parking lots are not permitted to be adjacent to Yuma and Estrella. They're to be hidden from the public perspective. And just 2 more. Proposed clarification number 8. Language was added to the paragraph to establish consistency with the other sections in the specific area plan. This is just continuing from clarification number 5. And finally, the proposed clarification number 9. And there is used page 2 of the attachment that David handed you for the new language here. We're just proposing that tail end of that language state that be reviewed and approved by the Community Development Director or his designee. So language was added in this area to ensure that each of the city center districts, prior to any development applications being approved, will have architectural design guidelines. This language will clarify that all development in the city center is subject to design review and that architectural design guidelines will be required to show that there is architectural harmony throughout each of the districts. And those are the 9 clarifications that we are proposing. Staff did conduct a citizen review meeting on February 24th to review the specific plan amendment request. There were 6 residents at the meeting. However, the majority of questions were related to the development timing of the city center, the city hall, and the library. I noted previously that staff has been in ongoing meetings with SunMP, and staff will continue to work with SunMP to work through additional questions and continue on to the City Council. But this concludes the presentation by staff, and staff is available to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions of staff? Okay, you're done. Mr. Bull, Mr. Tupper, comments, questions?
Ed Bull, 702 East Osborne, representing Sun MP. We're comfortable with staff's presentation.
All right, thank you. Anybody from the public like to make comment on this? Come on up right here, please. Identify yourself, name and address for the record, and talk
Thank you
to
very
us.
much. My name is Elio Scari. I live in 15842 West Durango Street in Goodyear. I've been here for 6 years already. And I've been attentive to the city center that is going to be built sometime in the near future. I spoke with some of you or the city council sometimes, and I wanted to recommend to you to talk to your staff to consider for the center completely the 21st century climatization system dominant in Europe to be brought to the United States. Now it's fully here. We got all the technical supports and all the know-how and so on, and it's being called radiant cooling and heating. We can produce upfront money savings up to 15% in your whole project. We can save you 2 feet construction per floor. The savings into the construction cost can be paying for the climatization system. In other words, you can get it for free. And also will be the most advanced in the United States. The Illinois Institute of Technology in Chicago got an installation already done that way that can be documented for these purposes. And I would like to recommend that you recommend to your staff, to the architects, to everybody, to give it a serious, formal, complete consideration, and then decide not to do it. But I will be very guilty if I don't bring it to your attention, this available system that is really the 21st century in relation to the all air that we are enjoying right now, among them draft, noise, and dust being moved from one to another. All that is being eliminated if you use radiant cooling and heating in what we use water, no air, to take care of the sensible loads in the buildings, still leaving the ventilation part also in the conventional way, but you will save 30% in energy, and that will meet probably the federal target now that saving energy and so on, if you change this concept. Requires some study, and we got all the documentation, and we would like you to recommend to staff not to miss to analyze it and consider it. And the same thing for the architects and for everybody else that may be in the chain of command to get that part. Not only will be very economical, save you money up front, but also will bring you a tremendous reputation because you will be the first one in the area, in Arizona, by the way, to have this type of climatization. So I'm available to give you my expertise, if any case or any questions you may have. And I would just recommend it not to miss it. That's all.
Okay. This commission is not involved with the technical aspect of the building of the actual new city hall and the library. However, I think you need to talk to the Langford representatives, who are the developers who have been presenting their plans, and drawings have started already for a new city hall and for a library, so that they can take your suggestion and analyze it. We are not experts in heating and air conditioning, and for us to make a recommendation would not be inappropriate. So what I would ask you to do is talk to the secretary of the commission, and she can get you the Langford people's.
Are they the architects?
Langford has an architect. I don't know. I don't remember their name, and we can get your information get their information and give it to you, and then you can make the pitch to them about the high vac. Okay?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Any other public comments? All right, seeing none, I am going to close the public hearing. Commission discussion. Seeing none, I'll ask for motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend approval of case 09-700-00001, the City Center Specific Area Plan Minor Amendment.
All right, I have a motion from Vice Chairman Lax. And
Second.
a second from Commissioner Williams.
And
All-
I'll say thank you to Brad. Nice job. Very thorough and detailed. A tough assignment.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, could I clarify that it includes the 2 additional changes that Brett presented to the commission tonight?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you want them back? Or, no, they'll be incorporated when this goes to council, right?
Correct.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Ayes have it, 7-0. We're going to take a 5-minute break at this point in time, and we will reconvene shortly, and then we'll go into the highly entertaining zoning ordinance text amendments that are coming up. I gotta go to the bathroom.
So sure it's all about you, Gary.
I'm sorry.
Oh. Thank you.
Was the floor be really cold, then you put your feet down on it?
David, are you ready? Okay. Is the commission ready?
Is the chairman ready?
All right. Calling the meeting back to order again. Now we are opening the public hearing on case 0922000001, zoning ordinance text amendment, Article 6, parking. Mr. Canning is going to make the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. As you already know, the entire zoning ordinance is being reviewed and amended by planning staff, article by article, in order to improve the organization of the regulations, modernize the ordinance text, make the ordinance more user-friendly for the public, to interpret and for staff to administer, and to enact some regulatory or policy changes to be consistent with city policies and code. On February 18th, 2009, the Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed and approved a text amendment to Article 7, which covers signage. That text amendment was the first of 10 that will be reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission in the next several months. The text amendment before you this evening pertains to Article 6, which addresses the city's off-street parking and loading requirements. The goal of the Article 6 text amendment is to modernize, reorganize, and clarify the article in order to make it clear, concise, understandable, and easier to use. Several substantive changes are proposed within this zoning ordinance text amendment and are outlined in the staff report. These changes pertain to parking stall overhangs, rural development standards, tandem parking.
Could you explain what tandem parking is, please?
Sure.
For those of us who don't know.
Tandem parking, as opposed to side-by-side parking, involves parking two vehicles front end to back end. So normally, when you've got tandem parking, you'll have a 9-foot wide space by 40 feet long, so you can park cars directly behind each other.
Thank you.
And the reason for that is to help reduce garage dominance for smaller size lots that may get approved in PADs. Okay, continuing the list, we also have changes pertaining to parking for mixed-use developments, shared parking program, reductions in required on-site parking, some incentive programs which allow a reduction in required parking spaces, ADA parking requirements, and parking requirements for various uses. And this addresses the amount of parking spaces which are required according to each use and the square footage of that use. And the final two pertain to off-street loading and bicycle parking. Staff has actively sought input from the public and from the development community pertaining to the zoning ordinance text amendment and has made some revisions based upon that input. Attachment 3 of the staff report contains a listing of the specific questions, comments, or recommended changes received during the public review period and staff's responses to each item. This concludes my presentation. Staff is available for your questions. Again, this is city initiated.
Questions of staff? What is off-street loading?
Off-street loading pertains to loading berths that you'll normally find in shopping centers. I'll give you an example. The Walmart shopping center on Stripe Parkway has numerous loading berths where trucks can load and unload items to deliver to the store. Basically, it's for loading and unloading activity.
Okay. Other questions of staff? Seeing none, is there anybody from the public that would like to make comment on parking? Ms. Wilkin? No. Okay.
Yes, did you sign the card?
All right, I'm going to close the public hearing and ask the council for a motion.
I move we approve, okay, 0922000001.
All right, I have a motion from Commissioner Loretano and a second from
I'll second.
Commissioner Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Ayes have it 7-0. God, that was fast. Did we miss anything?
Work session, Ms. Wilson, don't shut her off.
Yeah, no. Did we, can I ask one question of Mr. Schmitz? I know in the parking or text ordinance, we talked about utilizing some of the recommendations that the rural committee came up with, the Rural Life Committee came up with. Did we utilize all of them, or did we just utilize a few, and we think we have it pretty well covered for that area?
Mr. Chairman, relative to the parking sections of the zoning ordinance, relative and to the Rural Development Standards Committee's recommendations, there was items relative to paved parking for residential use, also some provisions regarding the access from a driveway, and there is specific provisions that in the ordinance that you just recommended that provides for leniency for that in the rural development setting.
Okay.
Where they would not have to, as you would on the urban residential lot, the driveway can be a dust-proof surface under certain conditions.
Okay, so we've incorporated at least some of the recommendations into the rural, into this parking document that would apply only to our rural neighbors, part of Goodyear.
That's correct. Everything that's dealing with parking or storage of a car on a lot.
Right.
Although there are numerous other recommendations, and Katie's going to speak to some of those. And there's even beyond that, others that will have to be implemented beyond the parking and residential sections of the ordinance, and will have to actually go into city code provisions.
All right, thank you. Yeah. Okay, next item of business is the work session on the zoning ordinance text amendment, and this is Article 3, residential zoning districts, and Ms. Wilkin will lead us through this challenging subject.
Thank you, Chairman Gelzer, members of the commission. I won't repeat while we're here since David just went over that, so I will just hit on some of the major changes in the residential sections. The first is the creation of the use matrix. Currently, within the zoning ordinance, if you look here, each district lists the uses that are permitted, accessory uses that are permitted in it. So what we're proposing doing is changing to a matrix. And this is something that many Valley cities across the country are doing. And what it does is it gives staff easier format to work with. So if someone comes to the counter saying, where can I put an assisted living home? We can quickly look for assisted living home and find out what zoning districts they're allowed to go in. So it just makes the referencing a lot easier for us, and that's the reason for changing to a use matrix rather than listing the districts. None of the uses have been changed except where they were noted by the comment bubbles. They were just reformatted into the matrix. We also created a new type of use called permitted with conditions, because when the uses were listed in the districts, there were some uses such as a home business, which would have individual regulations listed with it. Those uses that have regulations such as home businesses, assisted living homes, the regulations themselves are going to be moved to Article 4 under one section, and those will be referenced from the use matrix. So if I'm looking for an assisted living home, I can see here I need to see Section 4, whatever section that'll be, to find out those additional regulations. Moving on, the next largest change we're recommending is deleting the agricultural preservation district. Now, this is not to be confused with the agricultural preservation land use district that's part of our general plan. There is also an agricultural protection chapter in the city code. But currently, the agricultural preservation zoning district has not been utilized. It hasn't been utilized at all, and it really doesn't provide anything different than the agricultural district. There aren't uses that are different, and there's not really protections that are offered with that zoning district. So a farmland area could have an agricultural zoning district, but have an agricultural preservation land use category to let staff, council, commission know that that's an area that should be preserved. They could go further and use the agricultural protection chapter of our city code to actually protect farmland if they so chose to do that. So deleting this district will help streamline and modernize the zoning ordinance, but it will not compromise any protection measures the city can take for agricultural purposes. We are also considering deleting the manufactured home subdivision district. This is another outdated district that kind of came about during the 1970s. And through the work of the Rural Development Standard Ad Hoc Subcommittee, it was recommended that we create a manufactured home overlay district, so certain areas of the city, such as Sonoran Valley, that already has manufactured homes, could continue to develop with manufactured homes as it's appropriate. What a development could do is get a residential district zoning category, such as R16, and have that manufactured home overlay put over that to create a manufactured home subdivision. So commission and council would be looking at that overlay to determine if that subdivision should be a manufactured home subdivision. This is something other cities within the valley typically do. However, we do have a residential neighborhood in the city of Goodyear zone manufactured home subdivision right now, so we're still looking into whether it's worth to pursue deleting this district or not. So we haven't deleted it from the text yet, but that is something we're looking at.
Katie?
Yes.
So that's Sarville Village, right, or?
Canada Village.
Canada Village. Would they go into R16 if we were to take the manufactured home district away, or where would they fall?
That's what we would think. They would be R16 with a manufactured home overlay district.
Okay. And the manufactured overlay district is the protection for the smaller setbacks and that kind of stuff.
The overlay district won't really do anything with setbacks. All it will do is allow manufactured homes. And then in conjunction with that, we'll also amend our design guidelines to create design guidelines specific to manufactured homes. And that's pretty much all the overlay district will do is say manufactured homes are allowed in this area.
The reason I'm asking this is because, I remember every time we'd go out to Canada Village, it kind of looks like, well, if it lost its manufactured housing zoning and it went into, R1, would the lots be wide enough? Would there be enough setback? Would there be proper parking? All of those issues. And that's what I guess you guys have to do the research on that before we decide we're going to abandon this.
And that's exactly what staff is looking into, to make sure that if we change their zoning, we wouldn't create any problems for those residents without meaning to. So that's what we're trying to make sure there wouldn't be any problems. And then we also want to find out from the residents how they feel about having their zoning change. So that's what we're looking into right now. So we'll decide after we've looked into that if we should recommend deleting it or not.
Okay, thank you.
Those are the major changes. So we're doing this in work sessions so we can get your reactions to these proposed major changes at this time, and then we will come back with the revised zoning ordinance according to your comments at a future date with a recommendation. So I can take any questions, comments, concerns you have right now.
Questions, comments? Questions, comments? Okay, let me do my due diligence. On the matrix, if it has to be permitted to be allowed, is that correctly? So an empty square means it's not permitted.
That is correct. And maybe we need to revise it right here.
Right.
A blank indicates the use is not permitted, so that's how we're trying to
Okay.
be clear.
I didn't.
It's
I missed
hidden in
that,
there.
But that's okay. That was one of my concerns, and my other concern is on the, the manufactured housing area. Let's not create a non-conforming district, as we update our zoning text amendments. All right, any other comments? Good job. I'm going to close the work session. Staff communication.
Mr. Chairman, next meeting, April, we probably want to take another group picture since we have a new member. So is that, we have our camera now? If you're ready to, I guess if we're ready, if you feel photogenic tonight, we can do it tonight.
Works for me.
You want to do it tonight? Okay.
Anything else before we step up for this group picture?
Now, our next meeting is April 15th, Tax Day.
Tax Day.
Celebrate.
All right, I'm going to adjourn this meeting.
I don't know that.